Hello everyone, my name is Rajesh Kumar and I'm your DevOps SRE DevSecOps coach. Okay, so the question is what is replication controller? So first thing, when you use kind is equal to pod here, then you get one pod. But what about if you want multiple pod? So for that, you have to use one object, resources, which is called replication controller. So what is a replication controller? So replication means many pods. Okay, you can get it as many replicates you want of the one pod, you can do that. And controller means whatever you say, your desired number of pod you set, and system will make, means Kubernetes will make sure that actual number of pods, this you say 4, it will be 4. If you say 10, it will be 10. Due to some accident, if it is reduced, automatically it will set to desired number of pods. So these are the two features we have in replications. So here let me try the replication controller. So go to here, now type replication controller, and here you have some example code for it. So now this is the one of the code which you can use it. And here, so what do you want replication controller? What is the name of the replication controller? Rajesh only. And how many pods you want? 3. Of which pod you want? This one. Let me remove all the comments, not required, and done. So this is your application controller code. Now let me deploy this. So here, do we have any RC? Get RC. RC means replication controller. No, I'm working the default namespace. Please keep a note of it. -n if you want to specify, it will be in a different namespace. So here I am going to do the CRUD again. Same thing which you learned from the last session. So create -f rc.yaml, and now you see that here you created the 3 pod. You want to see that? You see, these are the 3 pod belong to this one. Now you want to replicate, so you can edit that. So edit RC, 3 pod you wanted, now I want 20 pods. So here replicas you say 20, that's your desire, and somewhere here it is, right? Yeah, so replicas 20, and you see that suddenly you become a 20 pod, you got it. See, so fast, right? So all this pod you got it quickly. Now this is called replications. Okay, this is called replications. Now you say you want only 2 pods. So now again edit this, and you say, hey, I want 2 pods, and so 18 pods will be deleted, 2 pods you'll have it. 2 pods, save it, and you see that everything is terminated to except 2 pods, except this one. This is not a replication controller pod. This is the individual pod which I created in the pod section. So here if you see, only 2 pod you got it. So this is called replication feature. Now we have a controller feature also. So let me show you controller feature, how it works. So now your desire is 2 pod. Okay, so now what if I delete manually, and that's creating one in accidents. So what will happen? Look at this. 1 pod and this 2 pod. I'm deleting manually. Look at the age, 92 second, 92 second, enter. And you see that here, see, new pod immediately get replaced with the outgoing pod. So whatever the desire it was, that 2, it is there still 2. So that who's taking care of this healing work? That is taken care by Kubernetes. Okay, so this is the replication controller. Any questions on this, guys, all of you? I'm going to delete this. So delete -f rc.yaml. Now I deleted the replication controller. It's gone. Any questions so far? All of you? All of you? No. So next one is deployment. So what is a deployment? So guys, a deployment V is the next version of replication controller. So what we have, In a deployment, you have a feature of a replication also, just like a replication controller. It has a feature of controller also. Okay, and then it has a feature of uh, rollout and rollback also. Okay, so many features which you have. Versioning feature also you have in this. Okay, versioning feature. So these are the 5 features. Out of which replication and controller feature, which is powered by replica sets. So what is a replica set? So replica set is another resources, and deployment is outsourcing this feature for accomplishing this one. So then you'll say, Rajesh, then initially you talk about application controller, now this feature is coming from replica set. So why is that? So you know what, replication controller, it was introduced to replicate and control the pods. Okay, but it got deprecated, so it had some bugs which was fixed in this one. So replica set is a next version of replication controller. Okay, and that has been used in the deployment to getting the replication plus controller feature, and plus additional features which you have in the deployment, which like versioning, if you want to upgrade, if you want to roll back, all these features you have. Okay, so now for this feature I want to uh, um, do that stuff. So how do you do that? So last time I did through the YAML, let me do through command line this time. So here create a deployment, so kubectl create hyphen h. See, these are the resources which you can create it, out of which I'm creating a deployment. So I'm learning from myself hyphen h, and these are the commands you have to deploy. Okay, so one of the command, you should practice all this thing. One of the command, I'm copying it to my notepad and revolving it. So here kubectl create a deployment my dep. The image I'll keep it mine. Okay, this is the v1 image. I have created 2 image, v1 and v2, so it will help you to visualize that rollout or rollback. How many pod you want? 3. So let me clear the screen, enter, and here I deployed. So let me see that kubectl get deploy. Now you see here, this is the 3 pod you have. You can see the pods, and you can see the IP address of the pod. You want to validate the pod, perl http dap dap, enter. See, the pod which I deployed, which has nginx, welcome to DevOps School version 1. Okay, so this is the v1 I deployed. So after that, if you want to see the history of this, so how do you see that? So there is one command which we have, there's one command which we have is rollout feature. So kubectl rollout. In this you have a multiple commands. This command will check you the versioning of deployment. So rollout history of my hyphen dep, the deployment name. So dep. So rollout history. Why is not coming? Okay. Rollout history. Uh, Let me check this deployment name. So kubectl get deploy my dep. So that seems to be good. Rollout history my dep. Deploy my dep. Sorry, my bad. Deploy my dep. Huh. So see that is a version 1 got deployed. So now what to do? You have to change the v2. So how do we change it? Just deploy v2 edit deploy and my dep, my hyphen dep, and I will go to change the version, which is I'm rolling out a new version. Okay, 2, and save it. And now if you see that, see here, pod got changed. You look at the 8 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, and if you see that new version got deployed quickly, http, and here you see v2. So I deploy v2, and then if you want to check the history, it's become v2. Right now I'm v2 here. So here it was first I deployed, then I upgraded it to v2. Then now you want to roll back. So here for the rollback, you have to roll out undo. undo -h. I need to copy the command. So undo revision number 1. So like this. So here revision number 1 rolling back, and what is this deployment, and the name of the deployment my-dep. Enter. Now you see that here. See, again undo. Now check this. Curl-http dub. Here you see roll back to the v1. So these are the features which you have. So in this deployment, you have a replication controller feature, versioning feature, rollout feature, and rollback feature. So all these features you have. Now you will have some questions like what are the strategies been used for rollout and rollback. So this one is important you to read it. So for that I would suggest you to have spent some time spending on Kubernetes deployment here, and this is the one Kubernetes deployment strategy explained with example. So these are the 5 features of the deployment, and these are the 2 deployment strategy you have: recreate and rolling update. So here you have a rolling update, a recreate, and downside you have a rolling update. So I would suggest you to also just spend 10-15 minutes on this one. Any questions so far? All of you, any questions so far? Hello. Okay, so last service which we have is last topic which we have is service. So what is service? So this is basically service is equal to load balancer. Okay, balancer, load balancer of pods in simple way. There's spelling mistake, just ignore it. So load balancers of pod. How it works? Let me tell you. This is your cluster. Okay, and this is your one worker, and this is a another worker. Now here you have a one pod which is a front end. Let me change this. Front end pod, front end pod, front end pod, front end pod. Now here you have a back end pod, back end pod. So now you know what? Typically what happens? First you will talk to front end, and front end will talk to back end. Very simple architecture I'm displaying. So if you see that here back end you have a multiple pod. So you need one service, and front end also you have multiple pod, so you need service here. Correct now? So like that. So here let's say red is a backend pod, okay, and this is a front end pod. So here what you need to do, so understand this way. So our user is somewhere here outside of the cluster. So first what we'll do, backend, this backend versus front end will set up the stuff. So backend, there'll be one service will be creating. This will be kind of load balancer, and there'll be one service will create from the front end. Okay, here this is the front end. This is also, so two service has to be there. Okay, now this service here, if you see that flow, this service will talk to this service. So see that this service will talk, sorry, there's a spelling. So here there's a service. Now what you need to do, now here this human will, end user will talk to this service, and from this service the one of the front end pod, and front end pod will talk to the service of backend, and backend will transfer the control to backend pod. This is how the communications will happen at the small scale. So in short, we need a two service. So this service will do what kind of load balancing of the pod. Now the question is, how can you create a service? So many ways are there to create a service. One of the simple way to create a service is uh, expose command. So here you have a 3 pod, And so if you use expose command to create a service, let me show you first services get svc. Right now one service is there, it's a default service. Because of this service only API service is accessible to your workstation. Okay, so now I need to create a service. So how do you do that? So command is kubectl expose -h. Now you should read this and many examples are there. So expose deployment here. So this will work. So here what you are doing, uh, this I'm creating a service of deployment. The name of the deployment is my dep, and on which container port 80, target port on which the service load balancing should be done 80 port. So this is the container port, pod port, and this is the service port. Okay, so this will create one service. Let me run this, enter, and get the svc. See here, so I created one service right now, and you want to describe this service to see the load balancing number of pods. So kubectl describe svc and this one. So now you see that kubectl describe service, which service, and now this is load balancing 3 pod. That means if you hit the service, this is the IP address and this is the port number, it will redirect to either this one or this one or this one. So this is a service. Let me show you. So curl HTTP, I'm hitting the load balancer, that's a service, 80 port, see, and you can directly hit to the pod IP address also. So here you can hit to this and pod IP address, see, same results. So that means right now this service is load balancing 3 pods. Are you understanding, all of you? Hello?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So now in this case, in this example, if you see, so like that you have a different deployment, different services you will create. And but one service which is the front end service you need to access from outside. So what to do? So for that, that service which you think should be accessible from outside, you need to, you know what you need to do? You need to expose at the port number of node. So this guy directly can connect to this one or this one. What to do in order to do that? That's called node port service. A service which is exposed at the node, that's called node port service. So you need to do nothing great. What you need to do, this service, if you see type of the service is, let me show you, clustered IP service. The type is clustered IP. That means this service only you can access inside a cluster. But if you want to access the service at the port number of node, then you have to say type is equal to node port. Let me show you. Okay, and the name of the service np. So let me run this command and get the svc. See here. So I created one service np and it is a type node port. That means this service will be accessible inside a cluster also at this IP address, but also outside from that node port. Okay. So the port number is 31513. Let me try. So 3, where is IP address? IP address of node, okay, not container. So any one IP address of the cluster you can take it up, and the port number should be 31513. This one. See, so this service which you are able to access on the node port, node means service IP address of node and the port number. So that service is called node port. Okay, so in this case, what will be happening? The end user will be able to connect to, will hit to the node port, and from node port this service redirection will happen. From this service, you may hit to the front end pod, one of the pod, and then front end will talk to the backend service to backend pod, like that. So this all this thing we have to architect. So this is the way you can create a service. Now there's one more type of service is there, and that is called load balancer type of service. So that will not be created, because for that you need a cluster to be there on the EKS or AKS or something like that. So that is a hosted service. So what you need to do, you have to check this one and you have to do load balancer. That's all. So in that case, what will happen? Load balancer service. There will be one service. There will be one load balancer created here outside by the AWS. So you will hit to this load balancer. This load balancing will balance the node, and from the node, the service, all this thing as same as it was node port. So this is the world of services. We use services for load balancing the pod. Exposing you can do at the cluster level, node port level, and load balancer level of the cloud. Are you understanding, all of you? Are you understanding, all of you? Hello. So guys, apart from that, you have to learn many other resources also. So for example, in security, you need to learn RBAC. Okay. In terms of storage, you need to learn PVC. Okay. And storage class. In RBAC also 5 methods we have. So role, cluster role, we have role binding, cluster role binding, just avoid the spelling mistake, binding, and service account. So these are the things you have to learn in the security. Storage, you have to learn this one. Some of the utility jobs you have to learn, let's say job, cron job, and all. These all the resources are important. In terms of pod work, we have covered only with pod, RC, and deployment and replica set, but you have few more, which is like stateful set, daemon set, and all stuff like that. So if you learn this much, whatever I covered, that is more than sufficient you to get started with, uh, you know, Kubernetes. Any questions so far?
Have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.